Hi there YouTube, XtremeTrainz here. So, as you would know if you've been watching my channel for a while, I reviewed the first wave of the Thunderbirds Are Go toys when they came out in Australia. What I didn't do was collect many more of them because there was a big surge of popularity in those toys when they first came out and they shelf warmed really hard. What happened is at I think it was the end of last year or the very start of this year, this here was released, which is the Supersize Thunderbird 3 in a similar vein to the Supersize Thunderbird 2. This one, when it launched, was about 110 Australian dollars, and I just couldn't justify the price, considering, you know, for example, you have to do all the stickers yourself and that kind of thing. So I've been waiting. It's gone down, and finally I got on clearance today, this here for 45 Australian dollars, which I thought was low enough for me to pick it up. So that's over 50% off. What you can see is, I just want to show you this before I open it. They're a bit beat up. As you can see, this was the least smashed of the boxes, but they've been sitting on the shelves for quite some time now, so I think I understand, you know, why they're the way they are. You can see this is the kind of thing on the box. Noting here that this never actually got released in Australia as far as I'm aware, so that's not something you can actually buy here. I'm going to get this out of the pack, I'm going to put it all together, put all the stickers on, and then we're going to have a review of this because I think this was really cool, and then we can talk about some of the new Thunderbird stuff because I have actually still been watching the show and I found it really, really good. So I'm glad to finally get this toy in my hands. I know I'm late to the party, but what are we waiting for? Let's do it. Alrighty guys, so I've had a chance to put the stickers on Thunderbird 3 and have a bit of a play around with it, and I can now finally start talking about what it does. So the first thing I want to look at is just have a look at the details. Now obviously, this thing is quite big. Like if I pull back, you can see just how tall it is. There's my hand next to it. This is quite a sizable, solid toy, and I'll give you a comparison later on in the video to Thunderbird 2, but it is a nice size, it is a cool looking toy. Yeah. I think the next thing to note just is how much the stickers do. I think the stickers add a lot less to this model than they did to Thunderbird 2. I think most of them you could leave off. The biggest ones I think you couldn't leave off is the fact that these actual big threes are stickers, which is probably a little bit what I'd say bridge too far maybe. But otherwise, the other stickers are like stuff like this. This is a sticker. This was actually printed on, but then these were stickers. If we turn around, stuff like this little, you know, keep clear thing is a sticker. So you can kind of get an idea for what the stickers actually look like. They do add a little bit to the model, but I don't think they add as much as the previous ones. Let's start at the bottom. This has got really nice, the engine details done really well. As you can see, it's got the prototypical in terms of the actual show, you know, the 4 engines, unlike, you know, in the old one, 3 big engines on the back and the big one in the center. That's hollow. I'll show you what that does later on in the video. You can see you've got the nice big engine part at the bottom. These are nicely detailed. This spins. It doesn't do anything. Like there's no sound effects or anything activated. It just kind of spins, which is, you know, a feature, I suppose. You can come further up here. You've got these detailed nicely. The rotating cabin section, all the way up to the Thunderbird end nose, and you can see something going on with the cap here, which I'll explain in the play features. So as a model, it's definitely an impressive looking model. It's very, very like good looking. Obviously though, this has some play features involved, and that's really cool. So obviously it's got a lot of sounds and things, and I can kind of show you that without showing the special effect. Now this does have a smoke function, which I'll show later on because it kind of takes a bit of setting up, and I'll talk about that in a second. But it also has sounds that work without that. So if you come up to here, you can see you've got a couple of things that are interesting for the sounds. The first is that the button is here, it's quite well disguised. The second is that you actually have an opening cockpit as we had with Thunderbird 2. So if I just put this down here and open these, again, you can see that that is a big sticker which adds a lot of detail, but it's a lot less. Now you can see you get little figures of KO and Alan, which is really, really cool. And again, you can see them in there. They're not super duper detailed, but they are quite nice. They're meant to clip into those seats, but they actually don't. I think, again, it's a case of they're like, oh, clip them in the seats. They don't. They roll around. And because this kind of is on a click hinge, it's a bit loose. So I actually found that they fall out of the spaceship if you don't like blue tack them in. So I've currently blue tacked them into the little seats, so they stay there like that. They are nice, cool to get them. They're the same scale as ones from Thunderbird 2, so you can combine them and mix them up. But yeah, a little bit disappointing that they don't clip in, even though there are clips there provided for them that just don't work. Alright, so onto the sounds then. The button is here.
Time to deploy. International Rescue, this is Thunderbird 3. FAB, Thunderbird 3 out. Time to deploy.
You can see there the cycle of sounds you get just in normal mode. Now what you can do is activate the flight mode, which is when you have to make sure it's sitting down, noting that there's a little bit of a mechanism here where you can see this kind of pushes in. This activates the flight mode, so you get this if you just hold it down for a couple of seconds.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
You can actually see there's still a little bit of steam in there. It's kind of steaming a little bit, actually, which is kind of impressive.
Thunderbird 3 is go.
And that's what you get once you're in launch mode. It's continuing to steam. Yeah, so that's the launch mode. There's about 4 or 5 different countdowns. So I'll just show you another one.
Firing ion fusion engines in 3, 2...
Whoop. And that's what happens if you don't launch it properly. It makes that sound, and that means you haven't lifted it up off the ground quick enough, or if you kind of tilt it when it's launching, it doesn't launch properly, which I think is kind of cool. I'm going to switch off the light here so you can see the lights a bit better that happen on the engine.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And I think there you can just see there's a smoke effect going. And that there is the smoke effect. I thought I was going to have to... There you go, they're still talking. I thought I was going to have to demonstrate it separately, but it turns out it's obviously still got some water in it. So that still works, and it's still... That's the smoke effect, which is just a water mist. The thing that's cool about this is, as I said, I won't go through all of them because there's about 5 or 6. It's just that the lights... Yeah, he keeps talking. The lights don't work any other time. Like, they only work during launch, which I think is a bit sad. I think it would have been super cool if there's a button so you could, like, switch on the engine lights and having them... Thanks. Having them keep flashing, which I think would have been a lot cooler than just having them work on launch. But yeah, as you can see, that's what that looks like. Also there, conveniently, that includes the steam effect, which, in case you didn't notice, is pretty subtle, and I don't really know how much value it adds to the set, to be honest. I think it's probably a bit of a waste. Anyway, the next play feature, though, switching back on the lights, you come in for landing, and if you've seen the show, you'll know that it actually lands like this, which is kind of cool. So what happens is, as with the small Thunderbird 3, they don't happen, they're not automatic, so the arms don't come down automatically like on the small Thunderbird 3. You have to bring them out manually. You bring down the arms like so. As you can see, they're all flat out now. It's a bit more of a process than I think it could be. So you bring these out, and this is what you get, you know, when you do it with the toy from the small version. You just got the arms coming out. This one actually does do a landing mode. So you extend the end of these, you twist them 90 degrees, whichever way 90 degrees is. No, this way. Wrong way. Nope, it's not out all the way. There we go. I was like, it's not coming out all the way. And we just rotate this around. Bingo, that rotates. And this opens. So you end up with the support like this. You do the same for each arm. Again, you can see it just opens, rotates 90 degrees. That opens out like that. Again, if we rotate it. So again, it's not quite the smoothest process as I would like, but it does work. And excitingly, it does actually mean that you can pose Thunderbird 3 like this, which is A, from the show, accurate, but B, also just kind of looks really cool to me. Just make sure those arms are all extended the same. There we go. I was like, it's not quite standing up straight. Now you can see that we've got Thunderbird 3 in the landing mode. It's pretty stable once you lock everything in place. So it actually stands up there quite happily. And then if you turn on the sounds again, let me just press the button. Where is it? Here we go.
International Rescue, this is Thunderbird 3.
And you do this. You kind of get the noise of the landing, and then equally, what you do is you can pull this back, revealing the drill, which is also something from the show, and there's a little dial here. Which activates these noises when it's upside down. They don't really work very well. You keep hearing. So these sound effects only work when the rocket is upside down. So there's some kind of sensor in there that tells it so it knows which way it is. But yes, you do get... Okay, cool, thanks, Alan. You do get the functionality that you see in the show, which is landing upside down and the nose cone revealing the drill. The drill is hard plastic, except for the end, which is a bit of a softer rubber. And I think the only thing that I don't like about this function is just that this doesn't close up super well. You can see there's a little bit of kind of give in these. They kind of lock together enough, but I think it is a little bit loose from a collector's perspective. So they're actually all the play features of this toy. As you can see, it's quite an impressive list. So the last thing I want to do before I put some concluding thoughts is to compare it to Thunderbird 2. Alright, so here you can see a bit of a comparison between Thunderbird 3, the Supersize, and Thunderbird 2 Supersize. So I actually think this is a pretty good size comparison. I mean, I don't know exactly like the scale in the show, but to me this seems, you know, pretty reasonable. I think that they scale nicely enough together so that, you know, if you're doing something like this, it doesn't look super weird. Maybe Thunderbird 3 is like a little bit long, but also I think the scale is quite similar to the small versions of those Thunderbirds, which I'll grab out now. Okay, so here you can see the comparison between all of those Thunderbirds, and you really do get a difference in the size. So I think, again, the comparison and scale between these two is pretty similar to the comparison scale between these two. So I think they've done a good job of blowing up what is already a very, very excellent toy, as you can see if you watch my review of those originally when they first came out, and done a really good job of transferring it into the larger scale. And I think that as display models of the models and also CGI you see in the show, they've done a really good job in scaling those. Now we just need a Thunderbird 1, which I know was in development, but apparently got shelved for this year and pushed back to a later date. So hopefully we're going to see that soon. What are my concluding thoughts about this model? The first thing I want to say is that I think that the smoke effect is not worth it. This is the component which I haven't shown you, which is what you actually, the water tank you're supposed to fill. And the way it works is there's a container section in this panel here, which you unscrew. It's quite difficult to get off because it's all water sealed. You're meant to fill this up with water, wet this sponge. There's another sponge in there. You have to put this in. You've got to line it up. You've got to make sure you don't spill any water. Because, you know, for example, like this doesn't screw on super tight, so the water can just leak out, which is what happened. The first 3 times I tried to get it to work, the water went everywhere. So I think the mechanism is a bit clumsy, and I also just, to be honest, some people really like them, but I think the fake steam ones that are made with water are kind of just a little bit, like, not very good. And I just don't really think they add a lot to the toy. I would have much preferred, instead, them having spent more on making these light up better, or glow red or something, or use the money they spent on this to put some LEDs so they could, like, you know, pulse during flight or something. That to me would have been a lot cooler and a lot more useful than this short working, very brief, but then very mechanically involved smoke mechanism, which I just don't think looks very impressive. And as I said, I didn't really get to show on camera just because it's not very impressive to look at. Otherwise, I think the rest of the play features of this are done very well. I like the fact that the sounds change how it's landing and stuff. I really like the way that this opens and the arms actually function like they do in the show. I think that's really cool. I like the size, and I also like the details on it. And the fact you get, you know, the crew members in that same scale as the other ones, which go sit in there nicely, is obviously a bonus. But in the end, do I recommend this toy? And to be honest, I really don't know if I do. I think at the price I paid for it, which I told you at the start of the video, which was like $45, was reasonable for this toy. For its initial asking price, which was over 100 Australian dollars, no way, not at all. I just don't think there's enough stuff here and enough value and enough things to play with to justify that price. And I think the price is like $45, it's probably worth it. To me, to be honest, these bigger models are fun, but I think they're slightly more collector's items, and this looks excellent on my display of my Thunderbird items. But to me, if you want the maximum amount of fun, I still think the best way to go is to get the smaller models, which I just showed you in the previous part of the video. Get all of them because they do make all of them, including Thunderbird 5. Get Tracy Island, and you can have the whole base, and you can set it up, and it doesn't take a lot of space, and it's at a better size to, you know, interact with your trains and interact with your Lego and interact with your Hot Wheels, and you can play a lot better with different sizes. I think these are a little bit too big to play with. They're obviously quite expensive, and they don't work together super well, and obviously there's not the whole range. So for me, while this is a cool model, it looks really nice and it has some fun features, I think it's, in the end, a better value for most people to grab the smaller versions and get the complete set, unless you really, really love Thunderbird 3, or you really want some of those special features. But hey, this is my late to the party review because this item's been out for nearly a year now. So let me know what you think. Have you been watching the show? I'd love to know. I've just started season 2 and I actually thoroughly enjoy the show. And don't tell anyone I said this, but I think it's way better than the original series. And that's coming from someone who, I mean, look, I also think a lot of the new Thomas stuff is better than the original series, but look, there we go, that's going to start a war. Otherwise, I'd love to know what you guys think. Don't forget to do all those cool things to do on YouTube, like, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry for lack of content. I don't make videos unless I have stuff to show you. I haven't had stuff to show you. And I've also been very busy because I have a lot of other things in my life that aren't YouTube. Sometimes that's shocking to people, but it's true. So yeah, I've got some new stuff coming in really shortly, and there should be some excellent videos coming up towards Christmas, so look forward to those. Otherwise, make sure you guys do what you do. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. That's what we got time for. This is XtremeTrainz.